If you took every adult in the country and lined them up by financial strength, from the most secure to the most fragile, where would you stand? Not where you think you stand, not where social media suggests you stand, but where you actually fall when measured against hard numbers. Today, we are not talking about financial dreams. We are looking at financial gravity, the invisible forces quietly pulling most people toward a very average outcome. And average, financially speaking, is far less comfortable than most assume. Let's start with earnings. Picture the typical full-time worker, not the tech executive, not the entrepreneur on YouTube, just the statistical center of the workforce. That worker earns roughly the equivalent of about $1,000 per week before taxes. After federal deductions, state taxes, and payroll taxes, that paycheck shrinks quickly. The number that lands in the bank account is not nearly as impressive as the salary quoted in a job offer. Income sounds powerful in theory. In practice, it is compressed by taxes and then stretched thin by expenses. Which brings us to the next force, lifestyle load. The average household spends over $5,000 per month. Housing alone consumes the largest share, well over $20,000 per year just to maintain shelter. Add food, transportation, insurance, utilities, healthcare, and discretionary purchases, and the margin for error becomes razor thin. For many households, the equation is simple. Income comes in. Expenses absorb it. Very little survives. And whatever survives determines the future. Now let's move to savings, because this is where the long-term story is written. The typical American saves only a small percentage of their after-tax income. Single digits. That means for every $100 earned, only a few dollars are actually preserved for future freedom. At that rate, building serious wealth becomes a slow crawl. Consider retirement accounts. The median retirement balance across all age groups is modest, shockingly modest when compared to the number of years people are expected to fund after they stop working. A significant portion of adults have no retirement account at all, zero. That means retirement for many is not a strategic exit. It is a dependency plan, relying heavily on Social Security benefits that average a little over $1,500 per month. Pause and evaluate that figure. Would that number sustain your current lifestyle? Cover housing, food, healthcare, inflation? If not, then the gap between average behavior and desired outcomes becomes clear. Now let's discuss debt, the silent accelerator of financial erosion. The average household carries thousands of dollars in credit card balances. Unlike a mortgage, which finances an asset, credit card debt often finances consumption. Experiences fade. Gadgets depreciate. Clothing wears out. The interest remains. At rates often exceeding 20%, credit card debt behaves like a reverse investment account, compounding against you instead of for you. Meanwhile, credit scores hover in the good range for many Americans. On paper, that looks encouraging. But good credit does not equal strong wealth. It simply means bills are being managed adequately. It does not guarantee assets are growing. Now zoom out. Net worth. The true measure of financial health is what you own minus what you owe. The median household net worth is far from extraordinary. Younger age groups often have minimal positive net worth. Older groups improve gradually, but even many near retirement do not possess the level of assets one would expect after decades of work. Which raises a difficult question. If someone works for 35 to 40 years and finishes with a modest portfolio, what went wrong? Usually, nothing dramatic. No catastrophic failure. Just average decisions repeated consistently. Spending aligned with peers. Saving aligned with cultural norms. Investing delayed. Debt tolerated. Average inputs. Average outputs. But here is the overlooked reality. The bar is not high. To outperform the median financially does not require brilliance. It requires deviation. Saving 15% instead of 6%. Eliminating high-interest debt instead of revolving it. Investing consistently instead of sporadically. Controlling housing and transportation costs instead of maximizing them. Small differences, sustained over decades, compound into extraordinary separation. Imagine two households earning similar incomes. One spends nearly everything. The other consistently preserves an extra $1,000 per month and invests it in low-cost index funds. Over 25 or 30 years, the gap becomes staggering, not because of genius stock picking, because of discipline and time. The financial middle is crowded because most people unconsciously follow it. But once you see the data clearly, you realize something powerful. You do not need to be exceptional to escape average outcomes. You simply need to be slightly more intentional than the median. The numbers are not meant to discourage. They are diagnostic tools, benchmarks, indicators of what happens when financial decisions are left on autopilot. If you recognize yourself in some of these statistics, that is not a verdict. It is a starting point. Financial gravity pulls toward average. Wealth requires controlled resistance, and the earlier that resistance begins, the less force it requires. If this analysis has sharpened your perspective, consider subscribing for more data-driven breakdowns on personal finance and long-term wealth strategy. The more precisely you understand the numbers, the more effectively you can rewrite them.